Good morning, everybody. Would you please rise? We're going to post the colors. Officer Day, post colors.
Detail. Halt. Mark time. March. Detail. Halt. Left. Face. Order. Colors. As you were.
At this time, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for the Star Spangled Banner. Two.
Order. Colors. Eddies.
At this time, I'd like to bring up Pastor Peggy for the opening prayer.
Let us pray.
Uncover.
Holy God, we pause on this gorgeous day to remember those who have lost their lives in service to our country. We thank you for their dedication, for their sacrifice, for giving all of themselves that we might be free. So gather us together in community that we might rejoice this day in our freedom and might be there for one another to keep all of us free always. Amen.
Cover and please be seated. At this time, I'd like to bring up my Master of Ceremony, past Post Commander of 5220, past State Commander of Illinois, Joe Station.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, what a beautiful day. Last year, if I remember correctly, we were in a hurry to get out. So this year, since it's such a nice day, I extended my speech about 4 more pages. We have our first speaker of the day today is Dan Lipinski, but Congressman Lipinski has to be in another event correctly right after this, and if it behooves him, I would like to call him up now and have him give his remarks before I bring up anybody else. Congressman Lipinski.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a beautiful day out here today. I do have 7 events I'm doing today, so running off to hometown after this, so I apologize for doing that. But I always have to make sure that I'm here in Oak Lawn. I thank you for what you do for our veterans. Would all the veterans and all veterans here raise their hand so we can acknowledge you today, right now? So thank you very much. It is because of the men and women who are willing to serve our country and willing to put their lives on the line that we're able to enjoy beautiful days like this, and the barbecues and the parades, everything that goes on, the baseball games this weekend. But it's only possible because our veterans keep us free. It's we all wish that we didn't have to have people out there defending us. We all wish that the world could just live in peace and freedom. But we all know that that's not the way the world works. So it is up to the men and women who are willing to go out there, and so many who have fought and died for our nation, so many who come home and have faced very difficult times. We still have so many men and women who are out there now defending our freedom. We had 5 men who died in this past year from Illinois who were killed in action. So let's remember every day and thank all of our veterans. Veterans from going back who are still with us from World War II up through those who are coming home today. Do everything that you can to help them. We can never repay you, those of you who have stood there for us in our place to defend us. But we must do everything we can to reach out, especially those men and women who are coming back today. Help them to get reintegrated, to help them to find jobs, help those whose loved ones are gone to help their families. That's what we owe them. We owe them so much more that we can't ever repay, but we need to do all that we can. And please pray for those men and women who are out there defending our nation today, that they come home safely. That has never happened to me before.
Always your first time.
Thank you. But please pray for them, for their safety, and please, all of our veterans today, want to again say thank you, and God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Congressman Lipinski. Good luck the rest of the day, believe me. Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce the mayor of Oak Lawn, or president of the board, whatever title that you seem deemed fit, Sandra Burry.
Hello, what a beautiful day. I can't remember more people being here. This is just wonderful to see the families with kids and all of us gathering today to remember the sacrifices of our men and women in the military. In an eulogy to fallen Civil War soldiers, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote, "Yours has the suffering been, but the memory shall be ours." The past 70 years, we have seen American servicemen and women brave the devastation in Europe and the Pacific, the razor-cold Korean winds, the choking jungles and fetid swamps in Vietnam, lonely lands of Afghanistan, the sweltering desert heat in Iraq and harsh conditions in places we cannot even imagine. They've marched on the ground, flown through the air, and sailed on the seas. Wherever they were, they faced the constant threat of enemy violence, and they understood that they may never again see their parents, their loved ones, their communities. In these unimaginable conditions, they did their duty many times. Many did far more, but sadly, they all did not return. Most of us here know at least one serviceman or woman who lost their lives in service to this country. Before you leave today, or if you have a quiet moment for reflection, please take a moment and walk behind this beautiful memorial and look at the names engraved there. Please remember their sacrifice too. May their service and memory be eternal. While most of us thankfully will never experience or even understand the suffering of war, we have the duty and responsibility of preserving and honoring the memories of the men and women who lost their lives in it. We do this so the country recognizes what its freedom has demanded. We do this so the families and comrades of these soldiers know our everlasting gratitude. We do this so future generations reaffirm the legacy of those who have sacrificed. Thank you again for coming out, and it occurred to me today, I never thank our VFW for organizing this, and our village staff. I want to thank them too. It's so meaningful to us that this is organized in here. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out, and God bless America.
It's in my pocket somewhere.
It's your turn.
I want to thank those that came out today. I want to thank the police chief, Mike Murray. Mike, Chief, thanks. He's retiring in 14 days, but who's counting? I want to thank the Boy Scouts from Troop 1619, 610, and 3652, and also Jim Bushbach for coming out, newly elected on the Park District Board. Congratulations. Also wish to thank the VFW commander for organizing this event. He is also the American Legion commander from Oakland here. And I want to thank Military Order, the Purple Heart Chapter 575 for coming out, DAV Chapter 84, and the DAR President Linda Gray. Always welcome to come out here and see us. In addition to the Marine Corps League and the Vietnam Veterans of America are here. I want to thank you for coming out. On this Memorial Day, Americans pause with solemn gratitude and deep respect for our foreign servicemen and women who have given their lives for our country and our freedom. Through the generations, the courageous and generous patriots of our armed forces have secured our liberty and borne its great and precious cost. When it mattered most, patriots from every corner of the nation have taken up arms to uphold the ideals and make our country a beacon of hope and freedom to the entire world. By answering the call of duty with valor and unrelenting determination, they have set the standard of courage and idealism that inspires us all. All Americans honor the memory of the lives that have long been lost in defense of our freedom. Our nation mourns them, and their example of strength and perseverance gives us resolve. We are also thankful to those who have stood by our servicemen and women in times of peace and in times of war. Today, the members of our armed forces, following a proud and true tradition handed down to them by the heroes that served before them. They are protecting our nation, advancing the blessings of freedom, and laying the foundation for a more peaceful tomorrow through service that exemplifies the good and decent character of our nation and our veterans. America is grateful to all those who have worn the uniform of the Armed Forces of the United States, and we will never forget their great sacrifices. On this Memorial Day, we honor all those who have fallen by remembering their noble sacrifice for freedom. We also pray for our troops, their families, and the peace that we all seek. Yesterday morning, it's been a tradition from the VFW post that we go to the cemetery. We always go to the gardens and we place flags at the veterans' graves. And I've always made it a point, rather than going into the front where everybody's got 5 or 6 flags, we go to the back, all the way in the back at the end of the cemetery. And these are the veterans that people seem to forget about. In our travels through the cemetery and placing our flags, we found 7 World War I veterans that were buried there. It was the feeling of generosity from him, from seeing these graves, was just something, it was hard to explain. And they were just common folk. They were just common people like you and me. And no one said it better than Abraham Lincoln when he said that God must have loved the common man because he made so many of them. But it is uncommon men and women who, when nations get in danger, as they invariably do, must come to the forefront and lead. And that thought was with me all day yesterday and today, and I leave that thought with you today. Thank you.
I don't have a big speech, but I was brimming through the internet and got a message from our headquarters, and she had this poem online, and I took it offline. It was a Memorial Day by C.W. Johnson. We walked among the cross, we are the fallen lay, and listen to the bugle as taps begins to play. The chaplain led a prayer. We stood with heads bowed low, and I thought of fallen comrades. I know so long ago they came from every city across the fertile land that we might live in freedom. They lie here beneath the sands. I felt little guilty. My sacrifice was small. I only lost a little time. But these men lost their all. Now the service are over. For this Memorial Day, to the names upon the crosses, I just want to say thank you. What you've given, no one could ask for more. May you rest with God in heaven from now to evermore. That's the end of the poem, which I thought was very worthy to be presented today. Joe?
At this time, we'll have the presentation of the wreaths with the VFW commander and his wife. Please step forward and present the VFW wreath. Would the commander and his wife from the American Legion please step forward and present the American Legion wreath? Would Roy and Betty Johnson please present the Gold Star Families Wreath? Mike Lash, the commander from the Purple Hearts, will you please present the Purple Heart Wreath? Will the commander of DAV please step forward and present the DAV wreath? This time I'd like to have the Daughters of the American Revolution please step forward and present your wreath. Hmm? And last but not least, I'd like to have representatives of the VFW Auxiliary to present the auxiliary wreath.
Betty. I told Betty.
Thank you.
Huh? Yeah, finish it. Comrade Officer Day, you will have the underground fire abolished for those who have paid the unlimited sacrifice for freedom. Please rise.
Detail. Attain. Present. Colors. Master. Colors.
Please remaining for the closing prayer, Pastor Peggy,
Parade. Rest.
and uncover.
Holy God, as we honor today those who gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life, we ask you to hold them dear in your heart. We remember all those named on the reverse side of this memorial and the countless others from all over this country who have served and died that we might live. We ask you to be with all those who are currently serving, that you would keep them safe, that you would fill their service with honor, and that you would help us and them together to be a beacon of freedom for the world. Amen.
Cover. I always like to make mention, one of our members is being deployed today, Captain Dan Johnson, for his 4th tour. Color guy, would you please retire the colors?
Detail. Attention. Right. Face. On my command, execute 2 column rights. Detail. Forward. As you were. Carry colors. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. Left.
Remember all that there will be a refreshments back at 5220's Post. This concludes our ceremony for you right now. You can all come back to the post for coffee and cake.